At 31 years old, I am completely debt-free. I have a multi-six-figure investment portfolio, and I have a savings account that will take care of multiple months of expenses in the event that this economy goes left. I also bought a house at 24, and honestly, I need to give credit to the girl I was in my 20s who was ambitious, who was curious, and who wanted to dive deep into understanding what it took to actually grow wealth. I spent a tremendous amount of time, whether it be through books, podcasts, coaches, truly understanding how people not just make money, but grow it. And whether it was, Bigger Pockets Money podcast, which I listened to a lot on my home buying journey, whether it was honestly Mr. Dave Ramsey, where as a junior in college, I had a really bad spending habit. And I remember Christmas of that year, junior in high school, Christmas of that year, I was so excited to go see what was under the Christmas tree. And to my surprise, my parents thought it was a good idea to gift me this book. Now, it was needed, I will say, between H&M, Forever 21, Express, Brienne was really doing the most and living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm grateful for what I learned through Dave Ramsey, the snowball effect, the avalanche method, all of that jazz. But in my later 20s, I was introduced to the queen, Rachel Rodgers, and learned about this book called We Should All Be Millionaires, where the mindset that she shared was very much geared towards an abundance mindset of you essentially can make as much as you want if you understand the avenues to making money, versus the Dave Ramsey mindset was beans and rice, rice and beans, save, 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 and pay off that debt. Now, honestly, these are very two different ways of thinking about growing money. I think that with Dave Ramsey, it is very much focused on paying off debt. And honestly, I absolutely do see the value in that. But I will say that having exposure to the power of investing and letting your money work for you. My mom she used to work on Wall Street, and she was the person who, back when I was a junior in college, introduced me to the power of the stock market. And I remember I was an intern at Boeing. It was my junior year of college, and I was telling her about how much money I was about to make and the trips I was going to go on. And she said, "You thought." She was like, "You need to invest in 401k." And so she showed me how to literally maxing out 401k as an intern. I roll my eyes, but I'm just so grateful. I am genuinely grateful for the guidance and the knowledge that she passed down to me. And then she was also teaching me how to set up a brokerage account with, at the time, it was TD Ameritrade. And so she gave me all of the tickers. I remember Alibaba was going off at the time. Boeing was having an amazing run at the time as well. This was right around the year that they hit their 100-year celebration, so 2016. And that was a big eye-opener for me because, yes, I was working for each check, but my money was also working for me in the stock market. And it was really fascinating to see, oh, you don't have to trade time for money for every single dollar. Yes, you need to put in the work, but if you can understand what a good stock pick is, if you can understand how to read charts, if you can understand how to break down fundamentals, that's game changing. And so I remember I was like, okay, 3 buckets: save, invest, and pay off debt. I had about $40,000 of student loan debt I needed to pay off, and I honestly lived off of less than half of my check. I would put a significant amount towards 401k. We also have employee stock purchase program where you get a percentage discount of the stock, of the company's stock. And so I was investing in that. I also was putting a significant amount towards my student loan debt. So I had some that started accruing interest right after I graduated, or like during that grace period. So those ones I tackled first. And I do need to give credit to Dave Ramsey because of what he had shared in that book around the opportunity to tackle the highest interest debt payments first and getting those out the way, and then taking whatever payment you were making to those accounts, applying it to the next highest interest, and then continuing to just pay things off. But one thing that I really struggled with Dave Ramsey was that there wasn't the intersection of investing while paying off debt, and there also wasn't a realistic guidance around how much to save for your emergency fund. If I remember correctly, it was like $500 or $1,000. And baby, that ain't gonna cut it in this economy, okay? I think that for me, it was good to get an understanding, like high level of, oh crap, you can't just pay the minimum payment month over month. Otherwise, you finna be paying this joint for decades. But I also think that, like, yeah, so you have the debt payoff where it's like, okay, good. Get the understanding, get the knowledge of what that looks like from Dave Ramsey. But I also am a firm believer of ensuring that you understand that you have a lot more power to make more money and to then invest that money and let that money work for you through the mindset and through the teachings of Rachel Rodgers. And these are not the only, money coaches or money authors out there, but these are the two that resonated with me the most. So soon after I bought my house, maybe like a year or two after, I learned about Rachel Rodgers. And I was fascinated because naturally I am someone who always looks at the glass half full. I am always someone where it's like, okay, if I'm at baseline, how can I add to that baseline versus having to detract and essentially fitting in a box? So with Rachel, it was like, get your lattes. Like, this is contrary to Dave, where Dave is like rice and beans. Like, you literally need to be going down to the bare minimum of just navigating life with like what's a necessity. But with Rachel's perspective, it was like, no, like you need to actually embody the person that you want to become, the wealthy, high earning woman that you desire to be, and know that like you are actively going through the process of identifying how you are going to make that money. So it's not like, just flippantly like, oh, well, I want a latte, even though you don't have $8 in your account. I'm interested. I know that she mentioned that she's going to be doing a V2 of her book, but it was just so empowering to understand that it first starts with mindset. If you are already starting off with a scarcity mindset of like, man, I just gotta I just gotta exist. Like, I just need to do the bare minimum to survive. Like, that's not gonna set you up to be like, all right, let me get after it. Like, let me go figure out what I need to do day after day to ensure that I am making the money that I want to then actually live the life that I'm aspiring towards. It's something that like I can try to synthesize high level, but you really do have to both read the book for yourself and experience what she is saying for yourself, because soon after, I think I read her book in 2021. 2022, I started my Airbnb business. In a recent video, I shared how I grew that business to over $500,000. And I also happened to be in her coaching program soon after that. So she has a whole Hello 7 business where she teaches you how to essentially both build the money mindset, but also the money habits, and hire the right people in order to genuinely like get to make progress towards 7 figures. Now, I also shared I burned that business down with no regrets, but knowing that I could build a $500,000 business doing something that I didn't love is actually all the more exciting to like, now that I do know what I love and I'm aware of something I'm good at. And if you go back to Gay Hendricks, operating in your zone of genius, like that culmination, when I do have the capacity and time and space to go after that, it's very exciting to consider like what it will look like to truly run that business end to end. So I say all this to say I was at a point last year where we had like a little over 20K left in our car payments. So I've never had credit card debt, but I of course had a car payment. And so for a moment they were doing this promotion of like the Dave Ramsey school, I forget what it's called. And so I started to go back to like, okay, well, if we just need to pay off this debt, let me focus on getting back into his teachings. But it felt so misaligned with the mindset that I had built over the past like 3 to 4 years, where I was like, babe, I know that, you really want to do this and lean into what the church is doing, but I am getting the biggest ick, and unfortunately I'm gonna have to. So it all worked out. Like I was able to ensure that whenever we had like big refund checks or big bonuses, like that was money that I doubled down on with paying off debt. But deep down, genuinely seeing for myself how when you focus on making more money versus focusing on paying off debt and shrinking so that you can essentially throw money towards debt payoff, like that just it's two different schools of thought. So yeah, I would say like know yourself and know your circumstance. I think that some people can probably get carried away with like, oh yeah, I can spend whatever I want and embody the person I want to be, and next thing you know, you pay $5,000 for a trip that you don't have the money for. So it's obviously like be responsible with how you are spending. But as you can probably tell from my commentary, I am definitely Team Rachel. And I do hope that in her next book, she talks a bit more about the debt payoff side in tandem with making all the money and like the percentages of like what she recommends for allocating towards debt versus investing versus savings. And I've had like several mentors who, have been very clear with me around like you really have to do what makes the most sense for you and your lifestyle. So for me, I think I shared in the recent video, so we live off of Darian's paycheck. And then my paycheck goes towards savings, it goes towards investments, and it goes, there's no more debt payoff. So savings and investments, period. And so I max out on my 401k, and we should be able to hit the maximum IRS contributions by the middle of the year. I also put a significant amount of money, I think it's like 10% of my paycheck goes towards our employee stock purchase plan. And then we put a couple thousand towards savings every month. And then we have fund money. So we do what works for us. I know, every couple is different, every person is different, but the more that you can get exposed to different schools of thought, I think the clearer of a picture you can paint for yourself or what actually works for you and what you're looking to attain in this season. So your 20s genuinely are the time to build your foundation, both from a perspective of like tangibly what's in your bank account, but also from a mindset of not living paycheck to paycheck, actually living below your means, actually thinking about how you can build multiple streams of income. And this is coming from someone who in her 20s did Airbnb, I did Turo. I also, in my early 20s, drove Uber because I was saving and investing so much that I was like, dang, girl, you need to live. So like my actual fund money came from Uber. And then what else? I've done DoorDash. And then of course I say Airbnb, Turo, DoorDash, Uber, 9 to 5. A little bit of day trading during the pandemic. I'm not I do better with like long-term swings, but day trading with a 9 to 5 is just never elite. I mean, depends on your schedule. I was at the time my team didn't start working until 12 because my manager was on the West Coast. So like that morning time, 9:30 to 11:30, I was trying to hit those morning swings and but that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. Oh, and I did coaching. So I coached people who were looking to grow their Airbnb businesses, start and grow Airbnb businesses, and had some pretty exciting wins, like with students growing their portfolios to, I think the highest one was like up to 5 properties. So yeah, that is that. I think the biggest thing, you really cannot pay off, you can't save your way to wealth. You can't pay off debt. I believe you can grow your wealth while paying off debt, because obviously assets over liabilities. But if you're solely focusing on, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 years just paying off debt and then I'm going to save, you miss out on the compound interest that comes with being in the market over time. So that's my 2 cents, to each his own. These are all my personal views based off of my lived experience. And my hope is that I am able to just encourage anyone who may not be in the financial place that they would desire to be in to check out different teachers, like check out different authors, different podcasts, figure out your flavor. I shared 2 that really were influential for me. One, Dave Ramsey, with understanding different avenues for paying off debt. And then Rodgers, really big on understanding how to build multiple streams of income and the power of letting your money work for you. So I'm trying to think, from investments, Earn Your Leisure, Earn Your Leisure really did open my eyes during the pandemic as well to just the power of like the length of time being in market and how to actually understand technical analysis, how to understand charts, how to understand what's a good company to invest in versus what's not. And I know they have a book. I have not read their book, but we used to religiously tune into their Market Mondays every Monday at, was it 8 p.m. or something like that? But yeah, those were my 3. Debt payoff, earning, and then investing, Earn Your Leisure. Savings, I don't know. Savings, I'll be honest, I've been so aggressive with investing after seeing like the returns have been crazy. And it's like, why would I sign myself up to work for that money when I can just be intentional around the picks I'm choosing to invest it and let that money work for me. But Earn Your Leisure was just like super eye-opening with like, oh, these people, they set goals to have 1,000 shares of Apple, like 1,000 shares of Microsoft. And it really just opened my eyes to the levels of not just investing when it comes to day trading, swing trading, futures, and then long-term investments, but also the levels to acquisition of shares and like what you should really be prioritizing with holding, and the power of like looking at historical data and see, as you can see, I just get so excited about this stuff, but looking at historical data and just being like, yeah, people will be like, dang, I wish I bought Apple, 20 years ago. But it's like, okay, how can you put yourself in the position now where people will look back and be like, dang, I can't believe you held Microsoft since 2017. And so, yeah, which it was $70-something a share back in 2017. But nonetheless, do your research, find the people that align with your natural tendencies and what you're looking to attain or focus on in this season, and set your plan and stick to it. So hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Please be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I will see you tomorrow.